played better the last 3 games. What's kind of been your method with him this season? Has it been?
I probably tried every method that a coach could try with him, and he has played better the last couple of games. He still can do better than he has been doing, and hopefully we can get that out of him also.
What did you see out of him in high school or even maybe in practices that he hasn't always translated to the game, especially offense?
I don't know whether I want to get into that. I mean, Mikal is physically talented. There's not much he's not comfortable doing. You said especially offensively. I think from my vantage point, if he focuses, I think a lot of times he may focus too much on what's going on offensively. And he needs to focus on rebounding, defending, running hard, just making harder movements, harder efforts, and the offense will fall into place. I think he went through a stretch there where he's just focusing on my offense, and he needs to focus on everything else, and that'll take care of itself.
And what about his ability to
Oh, y'all are writing stories on
foul?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Thank you.
On his ability to play without fouling or defend without fouling, is that?
I've never thought about that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So I don't sit here and make up something, but I don't think it is. No.
Coach, you talked about tightening up defensively after the Marquette game. What are the points of emphasis going into Cincinnati that you really want to focus on? Is it,
Rebounding. I think you have to rebound against them. They are, I think, and I haven't looked at the stat sheet, but I think, they're the top rebounding team in our league. Do y'all know the answer to that?
Yeah,
For a
44.
long time they were. I think they're the top rebounding team in our league and one of the better ones in the nation. And so, they do a good job of limiting you to one shot, but then getting multiple shots for themselves. And so we have to try to make that not happen. And then they do a very, very good job of getting their offensive players the ball in positions where they are good. And so there's certain spots on the court where Wright gets the ball. Patrick, any place on the court is good for him. But they get the guys the ball where they need it, and so they're hard to defend also.
Speaking of Cincinnati, is their point guard pretty tough in your estimation considering the knee injuries he's played with throughout his career?
There's no doubt about that. I mean, some guys just like to play. Some guys, every little injury, they become a different person or they don't play. Cashman has fought through it throughout his career. You don't see a difference when he's out there. And you can just tell this is a kid that really loves to play basketball. He's going to be playing basketball for a long time. Whether he get paid or not, he's going to play basketball for a very long time.
Starks mentioned that when he first got here, you basically kind of treated him more like a man than a child. He had to adjust to that. Is that a fair characterization?
Marquette was on top of his game today. Chitty-chatting all over the place. Some days. The days I don't let him come out. I think that's accurate, and I think that's necessary. I think you go through my job, your job, and the fans, people that watch and follow us. I think a lot of times, particularly in this day and age, with all the exposure we get, be it through social media, be it through television, be it through radio, that you forget that this is an academic institution. And you forget that most of my job, believe it or not, is to try to get these guys that come in, these young men, ready to, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, most of them 4 years later, where you're ready to step out in the world. Now, in our world, we start thinking, okay, NBA, that's what he means by step out, but it could be whether you're going to grad school, whether you're going to go to get a job somewhere, and so you have to get hit with what the real world is going to hit you with. Now, I'm not speaking about Marquette right now, but some of them have been babied and coddled and pampered, that they're not ready for what's going to hit them when you walk out of this door, when you graduate and leave Georgetown. And so that's just part of the process, getting them ready. It's not always fun, it's not always easy. A lot of times the older guys, and I know this was the case, he gets mad when I say this, I hated then I realized I was a baby and I needed to grow up. And I love the man to death today and do anything he asked of me, but it was a growth process that you had to go through. So that's a long answer to think your question.
Have you ever had the rain mark on
Absolutely.
personality wise?
Absolutely.
Things he says?
All 13 of them, 15 of them, however many we got there now. Including managers, all 20 of them had the rain in.
But more college than that. I mean, he's
Not especially.
No.
He's
Oh, well,
included in the bunch of all of them we
Well,
had.
I mean, if you had to rate him in more than the.
Not necessarily.
How much do you think he's,
So it's the Kel story? Big Kel, little Kel.
little Markel? How much do you think he's gained from watching not guys like Austin and Chris and Jason, guys that are from here, that he's known well, watching them grow? Kind of, is he taking pieces of each of their games a little bit?
Well, the beauty of Markel, I don't think it's limited to that. I mean, he loves basketball, and he's I don't want to heap too much praise on him and say he's a basketball historian. I'm trying to think of a better way to put it. But he knows everyone who's come out of D.C. He's watched everyone. He's been around the game. I mean, his pops was dragging him to games when he was a baby, and so he's been around. And I said it in a positive light, not a negative light. He's been around and seen not just the Austin, the Jasons, and the Chris's, but a whole lot of people, you know, older than that. You know, and so he understands and appreciates everyone that's come out of here, from the Kurt Smiths, the Mel Middletons, and we keep going.
Speaking of Melvin, what's your reaction to Spank on Club?
I know, it's crazy, huh? It's a sign of the times, I guess. You know, I'm not as, I don't want to fully versed enough to make an educated comment, completely educated comment. But it's a sign of the times where if you look at all the schools that are underpopulated and not being used, you know, something has to be done. You know, I think our, I forget her title, what's Cheyenne Henderson, what's her title? I think she's terrific. And a lot of times when you sit in, somebody has to make hard decisions. And she's made a hard decision that I'm completely confident is the best decision for our city, for the schools, for the students, for the teachers, most notably for the students in our city. But all hard decisions aren't always well received, and change is difficult, whether it's the changes that are going on in the Big East to the intercollegiate athletics, to changes in the way our public school system is going to be structured. Change is difficult, but both situations, I'm pretty sure it's for the best.
Is it imperative to safeguard the history associated with that program?
Well, I do think that too. You know, I do think that, and I'm sure that the alumni base there and people that care about spending on will make sure, just in some capacity, that happens. I do agree with that.
You heard today about Noel.
I actually just heard it, yes.
That's already, of course, on Twitter and elsewhere. There are a lot of questions about the whole one and done rule. Just curious of your thoughts on the perfect world. You could decide what would be, how we can handle that situation.
Well, the perfect world part of the question throws me off because we don't live in a perfect world. But my opinion, I think that kids should be allowed to go to Sherrod High School. I do think that there's a small group that is ready. There's a small group that I don't think you should force to go through a year of college. In many cases, that 1 year ends up being a farce because a lot of times, and I'm not speaking about anyone in particular right now, but you know, they don't really go to class second semester because you know you're coming out anyway. And so now I do realize that the risk is, or where it could be a detriment to our world is because of what I said earlier about everyone being pampered and coddled. You're going to have, you may have 3, 2, 1, some years 4 kids that can make that leap. Well, you're going to have 20, if not more, that are going to throw their name in the hat. So I don't know how to balance that off or how to safeguard that. But then I think that if you come to school, you should stay for 2 years. I don't think you should just stay for 1 because I think that 1 turns into 1 semester a lot of times.
Have you talked to Otto about the game?
Yeah.
Or like, ready?
Yeah.
Anything you want to
Slim. And I said a month ago, change, I'll let you.
I know, but
You're obligated to answer that question.
I am.
I'm
I
giving you the same
appreciate
answer.
you understanding. So it's not a closed door.
Slim.
Slim's.
Anything else?
Yes, sir.
You talk about the challenge of preparing for a Friday night, 9 o'clock game.
I don't think they know that.
I'm concerned about it as the deadline breaker. Do you want me to?
People stay up late.
That means we're not going to be in the post second.
They're going to be, maybe not in the first edition, but no, they're interested in working.